The oppressive darkness of the night hung heavy as I pulled up to the obscure warehouse, tucked away in the outskirts of a small, forgotten town. The low hum of the engine and the rhythmic whir of tires against gravel echoed in the emptiness around me, a disconcerting symphony accompanying the clandestine task that awaited. I was just an ordinary trucker, hauling goods from one corner of the country to another. But this job, this mysterious load, felt different. The dispatcher's instructions had been cryptic, the warehouse shrouded in secrecy. As I stepped into the dimly lit building, the air carried a peculiar tension, and the low hum of the engine outside seemed like a distant memory. The warehouse, with its towering shelves and shadowed corners, exuded an otherworldly vibe. I exchanged minimal words with the warehouse workers, their faces etched with a mix of trepidation and secrecy. The cargo, wrapped in nondescript packaging, emitted strange noises, a subtle hum that sent shivers down my spine. The low hum of the engine and the rhythmic whir of tires accompanied me as I navigated the desolate roads that stretched like veins through the heart of the night. The cargo area behind me seemed to throb with an unsettling energy, as if harboring a secret itching to be revealed. As I drove through the isolated landscape, my mind swirled with questions. What was I carrying? Why the cloak and dagger routine? The low hum of the engine outside became a monotonous backdrop to the mysterious cargo, and my imagination ran wild with possibilities, each more chilling than the last. The night pressed on, and the road seemed to narrow, enveloping me in an oppressive solitude. The low hum of the engine and the rhythmic whir of tires served as my only companions as the cargo, now seemingly alive with a malevolent force, continued its eerie symphony. I fumbled for the radio, seeking a distraction from the disquiet that had settled within the cab. The crackling static merged with the low hum of the engine, creating a dissonant soundtrack to my journey. The voice on the radio spoke in riddles, cryptic messages that seemed to resonate with the strange energy emanating from the cargo. The miles stretched on, and the low hum of the engine outside became a relentless pulse. My surroundings blurred into a surreal landscape, the isolation amplifying the cargo's unsettling vibes. A sense of dread clung to the air, and I questioned the choices that led me to this isolated road with a mysterious load in tow. As the night wore on, the cargo's strange noises intensified. A rhythmic thud, like a heartbeat, pulsed through the trailer. The low hum of the engine became an ominous undertone to the cargo's unsettling symphony. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was a pawn in a game with rules I couldn't comprehend. The road ahead twisted and turned, each bend deepening the sense of foreboding. The low hum of the engine and the rhythmic whir of tires outside seemed to synchronize with the cargo's unsettling rhythm. I grappled with the growing unease, my gaze darting to the rearview mirror as if expecting the cargo to reveal its secrets. As the first light of dawn broke on the horizon, I pulled into a desolate rest area, the low hum of the engine finally falling silent. The cargo, however, remained a source of disquiet. I hesitated, contemplating whether to unveil the mysterious load that had cast a pall over my journey. The decision weighed on me as I stepped outside, the cold morning air providing a stark contrast to the disconcerting warmth within the cargo area. The low hum of the engine lingered in the background as I unsealed the trailer, revealing the enigmatic contents. To my surprise, the cargo held nothing but ordinary goods, crates of electronics, household items, and mundane supplies. The strange noises had dissipated, leaving behind an unassuming reality. I stood there, surrounded by the remnants of a mysterious night, the low hum of the engine a steady reminder of the journey's surreal nature. As daylight enveloped the landscape, I resumed my route, the low hum of the engine and the rhythmic whir of tires now devoid of the eerie energy that had accompanied the mysterious cargo. The ordinary goods felt like a mundane resolution to a night steeped in enigma. The road stretched ahead, winding through the waking world. The low hum of the engine faded into the background, and the mysterious load became just another chapter in the life of a trucker chasing the endless horizon. Yet, a lingering sense of disquiet lingered, a reminder that some mysteries are better left undiscovered, hidden in the folds of the night. Let's hop onto story number 2, but before I begin reading, make sure that you have subscribed to Mr. Scare for regular horror podcasts. The rhythmic hum of the engine echoed in my ears as I guided my rig into the desolate rest stop nestled off the highway. Exhaustion had wrapped its heavy fingers around my consciousness, and the promise of a few hours of sleep at this seemingly ordinary rest area was too tempting to resist. The night hung heavy, the air thick with an eerie silence that settled between the occasional rustle of leaves and the low drone of distant traffic. I parked my truck in a spot bathed in the cold glow of the flickering overhead lights, their unreliable beams casting dancing shadows on the asphalt. As I settled into the worn-out seat, the only witness to countless miles of asphalt and solitude, a chill crept up my spine. The desolation of the rest stop, while initially comforting in its solitude, now felt unnerving. The low hum of the engine outside seemed to amplify the hollowness of the surroundings. I pulled my worn jacket tighter around me and reclined the seat, attempting to drown out the disquiet with the rhythmic whir of the tires. As I closed my eyes, the darkness behind my eyelids seemed more profound than the night outside. The low hum of the engine became a distant murmur, the boundary between reality and the realm of dreams blurring. A sudden shiver jolted me awake. The truck's cabin was plunged into an unnatural darkness. The low hum of the engine, which had been a constant companion, now seemed like a muted cry in the void. My eyes struggled to adjust as I fumbled for the flashlight on the dashboard. The flickering light revealed a haunting scene. Shadows danced on the windows, distorted and elongated. The overhead lights that had initially offered a feeble sense of security now flickered erratically, casting an eerie glow on the deserted rest stop. I could hear the low hum of the engine outside, but it seemed to vibrate with an unsettling resonance. My gaze darted to the rearview mirror, and I recoiled at the sight. Figures, indistinct and ephemeral, moved in the darkness. Wisps of fog-like apparitions swirled around the truck, their ethereal forms brushing against the windows. The low hum of the engine became a dissonant melody, harmonizing with the ghostly whispers that permeated the cabin. My heart pounded in my chest as I grappled with the surreal scene unfolding around me. The low hum of the engine became a steady pulse, resonating with the strange energy that seemed to envelop the rest stop. I contemplated starting the truck and fleeing from this haunted sanctuary, but an unspoken force rooted me to my seat. The apparitions outside lingered, their translucent forms casting a spectral glow. I strained to make out the whispers, each ethereal voice carrying fragments of conversations, laughter, and distant sobs. The low hum of the engine echoed through the disconcerting chorus, a constant reminder of my solitary presence in this surreal nightmare. A sudden gust of wind rattled the truck, and the overhead lights flickered violently. The low hum of the engine wavered, the rhythmic whir of the tires now accompanied by an unsettling chorus of disembodied whispers. My surroundings became a blurred dreamscape, the line between reality and hallucination irreversibly blurred. As I grappled with the bizarre reality unfolding around me, a face materialized on the window beside me. Hollow eyes stared into mine, the visage a mix of anguish and longing. The low hum of the engine pulsed with the apparition's silent plea, and I felt an inexplicable connection to the ghostly figure outside. The whispers intensified, a cacophony of voices overlapping and intertwining. The low hum of the engine seemed to harmonize with the haunting symphony, creating an otherworldly resonance that resonated through the rest stop. I contemplated opening the door, stepping into the ethereal realm outside, but a paralyzing fear rooted me to my seat. The apparitions pressed against the windows, their incorporeal hands leaving frosty imprints. The low hum of the engine became a desperate plea, urging me to understand the stories carried by the ghostly whispers. I strained to catch fragments of words, searching for meaning in the disconcerting serenade. As the night wore on, the apparitions gradually retreated, their spectral forms dissipating into the shadows. The low hum of the engine regained its familiar cadence, and the rhythmic whir of the tires once again became a comforting lullaby. The rest stop, once a haunted sanctuary, now felt eerily ordinary. As dawn broke on the horizon, casting its feeble light upon the desolate rest area, I started the engine. The low hum of the engine and the rhythmic whir of the tires carried me away from the haunting night, leaving behind the unsettling apparitions and ghostly whispers. The rest stop, once a place of refuge, had transformed into a nightmarish experience that lingered in the recesses of my mind. The low hum of the engine, now a constant companion on the open road, served as a haunting reminder of the night when the boundaries between the living and the spectral had blurred in the solitude of a haunted rest stop. The sun was sinking below the horizon, casting long shadows on the empty highway as I navigated my truck through the vast expanse of remote America. The monotony of the road was broken only by the rhythmic hum of the engine and the occasional crackle of the CB radio. As the miles stretched out behind me, I welcomed the familiar chatter of fellow truckers on the radio. It was a lifeline connecting us on the lonely roads, a digital campfire where stories were swapped and camaraderie found in the darkness. Little did I know that this seemingly mundane drive would unravel into a nightmarish odyssey. The CB crackled to life with a burst of static, and a voice, strained and desperate, cut through the airwaves. "Mayday, Mayday! Is anyone out there? Please, I need help." The urgency in the voice sent a shiver down my spine. The coordinates that followed made my brows furrow in confusion. The location didn't correspond to any town, road, or landmark I knew. I grabbed the microphone, my voice gravelly from hours of silence. "This is Red Fox on the 87. I hear you loud and clear. What's your situation?" The voice on the other end sounded relieved. "Red Fox, thank heavens. I'm stranded in the middle of nowhere. My truck's dead, and I'm surrounded by things I can't explain. Just please, I need someone to get me out of here." My instincts kicked in, the unspoken brotherhood among truckers compelling me to help a fellow driver in distress. "Hold tight, partner. I'll head your way and see what I can do. Give me updates on your location." The voice on the radio provided intermittent updates, each more desperate than the last. As I steered my truck off the main highway onto increasingly desolate roads, a feeling of unease settled over me. The sun had long disappeared, leaving only the pale glow of the moon to illuminate the lonely landscape. The CB crackled again. "Red Fox, please hurry. I don't know how much longer I can hold out. They're getting closer." My heart quickened as I pressed the gas pedal, the engine's low hum now a steady thrum of urgency. The digital display on the dashboard showed that I was approaching the coordinates, but there was no sign of the stranded trucker or any form of civilization. I slowed to a stop, scanning the surroundings with a growing sense of foreboding. The landscape was an eerie tableau of twisted trees and looming shadows. The CB erupted with static, and the voice pleaded, "Red Fox, I see your lights. Please, you've got to help me." My eyes squinted into the darkness, searching for any sign of the distressed trucker. As I stepped out of my rig, the cold night air sent a chill down my spine. The CB radio remained silent, the voice now replaced by an unsettling silence that hung heavy in the air. Then, from the shadows emerged a figure, stumbling towards me with an erratic gait. The moonlight revealed a disheveled trucker, fear etched on his face. "You came. Thank God, you came. They're right behind me." I could feel the tension in the air as I helped the shaken trucker into my cab. He rambled about things he couldn't explain, shadows that moved with a malevolent intent, and a darkness that seemed to swallow everything in its path. As we sped away from that desolate spot, the CB radio crackled back to life. This time, the voice was different, a guttural and otherworldly sound that sent shivers down my spine. "You can't escape. We are everywhere. You have entered the realm of the trapped." The trucker in my cab paled, and I could feel the weight of the ominous message. The road ahead seemed to stretch into an endless abyss as the moonlight flickered ominously. Hours passed, and the landscape outside became a blur of twisted shapes and distorted shadows. The CB radio fell silent, leaving us alone with the haunting hum of the engine. I glanced at the trucker beside me, his eyes reflecting the same fear that gnawed at my own soul. Eventually, we reached a semblance of civilization, the dark landscape giving way to the distant glow of city lights. The trucker thanked me, his gratitude mixed with an unspoken understanding of the surreal experience we had shared. As he stepped out of the cab, he turned to me with a haunted expression. "I don't know what we stumbled upon out there, but it's something beyond our understanding. Be careful, Red Fox. The road is not always what it seems." With that cryptic warning, he disappeared into the night, leaving me alone with the low hum of the engine and the unsettling echoes of that mysterious realm. The highway stretched before me, winding through the unknown, a path fraught with unseen perils and the lingering whispers of the trapped. The road stretched out before me, a ribbon of asphalt disappearing into the vast expanse of the American heartland. I was part of a convoy of trucks, a rolling community of steel and diesel making its way through the night. The camaraderie over the CB radio was a constant companion, a digital campfire that kept the loneliness at bay. Little did I know that our convoy would become the stage for a chilling tale that none of us could escape. It started with a flicker, just a momentary glitch in the dashboard lights of my rig. I dismissed it as a passing anomaly, the quirks of aging machinery. But as the miles rolled on, more trucks reported similar issues over the radio. Radios crackled, engines sputtered, and lights danced in erratic patterns across the convoy. Anyone else experiencing weird stuff with their trucks? Came a voice over the radio, laced with a hint of unease. The responses flooded in, each recounting a strange occurrence that defied explanation. It was as if the mechanical beasts we commanded were awakening to some unseen force. Curiosity mingled with apprehension as the convoy slowed to a stop on the shoulder of the highway. Truckers gathered outside their rigs, sharing stories and speculations about the bizarre events unfolding around us. The night seemed to thicken with an unspoken tension, the air charged with an energy none of us could comprehend. As we swapped tales, a common thread emerged, a tragic accident that had occurred years ago on this very stretch of road. A convoy much like ours had been struck by a catastrophic pileup, leaving a trail of mangled metal and shattered lives. The details were hazy, obscured by the passage of time, but the weight of the past hung heavy in the air. I couldn't shake the feeling that the road beneath our wheels held a memory, an imprint of the pain and chaos that had unfolded here. The trucks, interconnected in their mechanical dance, seemed to echo the shared history of that fateful night. The convoy pressed on, the unease lingering like a specter in our midst. Over the radio, voices crackled with nervous laughter, attempts to dispel the growing sense of dread that had settled over us. But as we continued our journey, the inexplicable malfunctions persisted, each one a reminder of the haunted road we traversed. It was then that a voice, weathered by years on the road, spoke up over the radio. I remember that night. I was part of the convoy that got wrecked. It was like a nightmare come to life. We lost friends that night, good men and women. I thought I left it all behind, but now it's catching up to us. His words hung in the air, a heavy silence settling over the convoy. The haunted procession continued, each truck a vessel carrying the weight of that shared tragedy. As the night wore on, the boundary between past and present blurred, and the highway itself seemed to pulse with a spectral energy. The flickering lights and sputtering engines became a macabre symphony, a mechanical lament echoing the sorrow of that long-forgotten night. Faces of the fallen seemed to materialize in the shadows, their ghostly presence haunting the convoy as we rolled through the darkness. A chill ran down my spine as I glanced into the side mirror, half expecting to see the phantoms of the past riding alongside us. The once vibrant convoy had transformed into a procession of remembrance, a spectral reenactment of the tragedy that had befallen those who had come before us. As the first light of dawn painted the horizon, the convoy emerged from the haunted stretch of road. The malfunction ceased, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. We were left with a shared silence, a collective acknowledgement of the inexplicable journey we had just undertaken. The CB crackled one last time as the sun bathed the convoy in its warm embrace. Safe travels, fellow truckers. May the road ahead be free of ghosts, and may the echoes of the past fade with the sunrise. With that, the convoy dispersed, each truck heading its separate way. But the memories of that haunted night lingered, a cautionary tale whispered among truckers on the endless highways of America. The road, it seemed, had a memory, and some stories were destined to be relieved, one haunting mile at a time. The desert stretched out before me, an endless expanse of barren land bathed in the harsh glow of the setting sun. I leaned against the side of my rig, the low hum of the engine reverberating through the metal frame. My name's Jake, and I've been hauling freight across this great country for longer than I care to admit. But nothing at all, would prepare me for the peculiar shipment that awaited me that fateful evening. I was at a rundown truck stop in the heart of Arizona when a shadowy figure approached me. A man in a weathered trench coat, his face hidden beneath the brim of a dusty hat. He handed me a sealed envelope and whispered words that sent shivers down my spine. Deliver this to the coordinates inside. No questions, no stops, and, above all, no peeking inside. Your payment will be waiting. The envelope was cold to the touch as I slid it into the breast pocket of my worn-out denim jacket. The man disappeared into the night, leaving nothing but a trail of dust in his wake. Curiosity tugged at me, but I'd seen my fair share of strange shipments, and the less I knew, the better. The next morning, I set out into the vastness of the desert, my rig eating up the miles of open road. The coordinates in the envelope led me to a remote facility surrounded by a chain-link fence, where a haggard-looking man awaited my arrival. His eyes darted nervously as I pulled the rig to a stop. "Park it in the loading bay, and remember, don't open it," he muttered, slipping a wad of cash into my hands. The loading bay was dimly lit, the air heavy with an acrid scent that stung my nostrils. As the facility's doors clanged shut behind me, I caught a glimpse of the peculiar crate I was hauling, a heavy metal container, chained and padlocked. It bore no markings, no indication of its contents. The journey continued, the monotony of the desert landscape broken only by the occasional coyote darting across the road. It was when the sun dipped below the horizon and the desert was bathed in the cold light of the moon that I began to feel a subtle shift in the air. Visions flickered at the edge of my consciousness, unsettling images that danced on the fringes of my mind. A figure, cloaked in shadows, beckoning me into the abyss. The desert seemed to whisper secrets, carried on the wind that swept through the open windows of my rig. I shook my head, attributing the bizarre sensations to fatigue and the solitude of the open road. But the visions persisted, growing more vivid with each passing mile. Shadows danced in the periphery of my vision, and I could almost hear distant whispers, like a chorus of lost souls calling out to me. I pressed on, my knuckles turning white as my grip on the wheel tightened with each unsettling mile. The air inside the cabin grew thick, suffused with an otherworldly presence that clawed at the edges of my consciousness. It wasn't just a weight, it was as if unseen tendrils slithered through the air, reaching out from the mysterious crate, seeking to ensnare my very soul. The desert night stretched on, an endless expanse of darkness punctuated by the pale glow of the moon. The visions intensified, becoming a kaleidoscope of surreal images, faces distorted in agony, landscapes warped by unseen forces. I could feel the cargo's influence, a weight on my psyche that threatened to unravel the fabric of my sanity. As I neared the final stretch of the journey, the whispers in the wind grew into a chorus of anguished voices. The shadows in the cabin coalesced into indistinct forms that seemed to move with a malevolent intent. I gripped the wheel with white-knuckled determination, my focus fixed on the road ahead. The facility at the end of the journey loomed in the distance, its lights flickering like distant stars. The visions reached a crescendo, a maddening cacophony that threatened to engulf my senses. I could almost taste the darkness, a bitter tang on the back of my tongue. With a final surge of willpower, I pulled into the loading bay, the hydraulic hiss of the doors drowning out the haunting symphony that had accompanied me. The haggard man from before approached, his eyes widened in a mix of awe and trepidation. "You did well," he muttered, taking the envelope from my pocket and handing me another wad of cash. "Best forget what you saw, and best not ask questions. Not for your sake, but for theirs." The loading bay doors closed behind me, shutting out the enigmatic facility and the secrets it held. I pulled away, the weight of the journey lifting with each passing mile. The visions, the whispers, all faded into the rearview mirror, swallowed by the unforgiving expanse of the desert. As the first light of dawn painted the horizon, I found myself at a crossroads. The mysterious shipment had left an indelible mark on my psyche, a scar that would forever remind me of the thin line between the tangible and the incomprehensible. I pressed on, the road stretching out before me, the past fading into the rearview mirror as I chased the sunrise into a new day, haunted by the echoes of a journey that defied explanation.